Hi, I'm Claire Musser. I'm the Executive Director of the Grand Canyon Wolf Recovery Project. I completed my MA in Zoology in 2022 and subsequently began a practice-based PhD at Falmouth University. As zoologists, we recognise the importance of a mixed method approach. In my research, I integrate zoology with film and photography to examine human interactions with urban carnivores in the western United States. This integration allows my advocacy for wolves and my academic pursuits to complement and strengthen one another. Bringing zoology out of academia and into the field is crucial for driving meaningful change. As zoologists, we can advocate for incorporating rich qualitative data, cognitive ethology, and the recognition of animal consciousness into policy and decision making. However, this leads to essential questions. How do we make these complex ideas accessible to various audiences, challenge entrenched social norms, and do so ethically without disrupting the lives of individual other than human animals, henceforth animals? With these ideas in mind, I set about creating the short film Bears in Hot Tubs. This visual experimental multi-species ethnography explores the relationship between humans and black bears in LA. My PhD research title is Multi-Species Entanglements from Conflict to Coexistence, How Remote Cameras Can Shape Public Perception of Carnivora in Urban Areas. Multi-Species Entanglements explores human-animal relationships. With the increasing use of remote and security cameras, more urban carnivore images are being shared online. How do these images shape public perceptions of carnivora in urban areas? And can this form of wildlife viewing promote peaceful coexistence between humans and wildlife? This project and film also embody a transdisciplinary approach that integrates knowledge across fields and includes scientists, community members, and animals as co-participants in the creation of understanding. Through compassion and empathy, we can imagine the lives of black bears and make informed, respectful decisions that pave the way for us to live alongside our wild neighbours. When I began this research, coexistence felt like an appropriate and achievable goal. However, the more time I spend with the people living alongside carnivores, the more I realise we can aim for so much more. Coexistence involves tolerance and sharing space, but while creating the film Bears in Hot Tubs, I discovered that people like Brian and Rick have not only accepted their wild neighbours, but have developed a mutual understanding. They've a created environment where they and other beings, coyotes, cougars, bobcats, and of course the bears, can co-thrive. So why bears? The history of the American black bear is rich and complex, reflecting evolving human attitudes ranging from exploitation to curiosity. We've fed them at Yellowstone and hunted them as game. We've drawn inspiration from them from iconic stories and toys like the teddy bear and forced them to perform in circuses, used their likeness as mascots and embedded them in beloved children's stories with the characters such as Winnie the Pooh cementing bears as endearing figures in American culture. But does this history influence our relationships with suburban bears? Traditionally, people experience wildlife through carefully edited documentaries, while conventional wildlife photography has presented romanticised images of nature that often excludes humans. Yet when we capture images of bears around our home, we're far from excluded. Photography enhances our emotional connections to nature. We see the bear in the hills, framed by the city lights below, and when they enter our pools, we find ourselves in a moment of unexpected discovery, with remote cameras revealing the complex behaviours of individual bears, offering new insights into their lives. As we record these moments on our home security cameras, we start to understand what it might mean to be a black bear navigating these human-dominated spaces. We know black bears possess superior navigational abilities and excellent long-term memories, enabling them to adapt to modern societies and infrastructure. Habitat fragmentation and climate change are among the human-caused disturbances driving these animals to seek refuge in suburban environments. Unintentionally, we've created spaces that attract wildlife looking for food, water and shelter during the hotter summer months. Bears, with their incredible sense of smell, are drawn to our trash, fruit trees and bird feeders, and when they find themselves in our backyards, they even cool off in hot tubs and pools. By sharing these images, we begin to explore the hidden aspects of our urban ecosystem, imagining life as a black bear. We learn how human behaviours, such as leaving trash and food outside, become attractants, and we share this knowledge and imagery on community message boards, hoping to foster community engagement. But sometimes these interactions escalate to conflict. Individual bears are often labelled a nuisance, but we must ask ourselves, what role do humans play, and are the bears truly at fault? With these newfound connections, we can begin to ask ourselves, what can we do to create a safer world for both humans and black bears? Understanding societal attitudes towards carnivora is essential. Across the USA, including California, black bears and other carnivores are designated as a game species with established hunting seasons. The North American model of wildlife conservation is rooted in a utilitarian perspective, treating animals as disposable resources. This approach facilitated eradicating predators that were seen as a threat to economic interests. Today, as science evolves and new knowledge emerges, it's imperative to reconsider the ethics of, want for a better word, wildlife management. Disciplines such as cognitive ethology and the study of animal consciousness provide insights that should inform policies. To engage the public, some conservationists employ anthropomorphism, assigning human traits to animals, which can help foster compassion. Yet our individual bears already have rich emotional lives. They think, feel, and can suffer. So instead of telling the bear story from our human perspective, we should learn from the bears. This is why in the film I've chosen to explore egomorphism. This is where empathy and compassion allow us to see animals as self-like rather than human-like. This perspective helps recognise animals' inherent worth, acknowledging their experiences and sentience. For this reason, my film also establishes the bears as co-participants and co-creators of knowledge. Therefore, like the humans in the research, the bears are also protected by my research ethics. Compassionate conservation centres on the belief that individuals matter, we do no harm, and we strive for inclusivity and peaceful coexistence. Advocating for compassionate conservation can be met with resistance, particularly when advocating for predators. Critics often ask what compassionate conservation can look like in action. The answer lies in understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. For example, like all animals, black bears have unique personalities shaped by their histories and interactions. We learn about these individuals, their likes and their dislikes, through the images we capture around our home. And I believe that these images can drive social change. The images encourage a post-humanist view that shifts the focus from human superiority to a shared existence. For example, black bears in urban areas are often navigating human landscapes in search of food and water, driven by their acute sense of smell. Co-thriving with wildlife depends on learning the patterns and behaviours and needs of both animals and the communities involved. For example, what works here in Monrovia may not work in other communities that have a history of feeding bears. Bears climbing fences or entering yards can be deemed nuisance bears. However, when reframed, they reveal common desires for comfort and survival. The film Bears in Hot Tubs positions these interactions not as disruptions, but as opportunities to reimagine coexistence and co-thriving. It invites the viewers to empathise with bears, envisaging their perspectives and experiences. The hope is that by watching the film, people will recognise something about themselves in both the bears who are trying to cool off and the people who have embraced co-thriving with bears. This research adopts a mixed method approach, blending the arts and anthrozoology to explore human-carnivore relationships. As a practice-based researcher, I utilise remote film and photography to document and analyse wildlife interactions. Creativity is deeply embedded in the research process. Using grounded theory, the story in the film is determined by the videos captured of individuals, rather than finding images of bears to fit a predetermined narrative. In my research and work, I have learned that government agency staff are good at reeling off a list of strategies to coexist with wildlife. But what they aren't good at is tailoring their response to the needs of the community. Therefore, rather than tell the story from the perspective of the agencies, I've chosen to instead focus interviews on the local residents living with bears. People are less likely to see themselves in agency staff, but they can in their community members. By empowering residents to tell their stories based on their own lived experiences, we can gain insights from voices that aren't usually heard. The film also establishes bears as co-participants. The film respects their privacy. Bears have not followed, harassed or fed. Instead, I adopted a non-intrusive approach. All the images of the bears are from remote cameras placed in areas where bears have seen humans and naturally frequent them, respecting their space and autonomy. By presenting black bears as co-participants in the story, the film seeks to inspire a compassionate approach to coexistence and co-thriving, while underscoring the responsibility of visual storytellers to uphold a duty of care for all subjects, humans and animals alike. While we can never fully understand what it's like to be a bear, we can use empathy to imagine their experiences. Bears possess extraordinary sensory abilities. They have acute hearing, can see colours similar to canines, and their sense of smell is over 2,000 times more powerful than humans, enabling them to detect scents from up to 20 miles away. To stimulate the bear's perspective, we adjust the colours in the film and amplify and highlight specific sounds and emphasise their heightened sensory world. Through these immersive and creative techniques, we open viewers' understanding of black bears' behaviours and needs, treating them as persons with agency and unique lived experiences, immersing viewers in the ways bears might experience their environment, and fostering a deeper sense of empathy for their lives. As an environmental educator, I've seen that awareness alone will not encourage people to change their behaviours when living alongside urban carnivora. The film Bears in Our Backyards takes a very information dissemination approach, interviewing experts and listening strategies to mitigate conflict. While films like this are important for awareness, they do tend to be repetitive, retelling the same story and not reaching new audiences. In contrast, the award-winning short film Nuisance Bear has no interviews. The film follows a polar bear as they navigate the human-dominated landscape. We never learn if this is the same polar bear. The film also tracks the bears, following their every move. While a powerful story, this film, I feel, is intrusive for the polar bears, and we're left feeling rather hopeless. As an environmental educator, I believe people are more likely to make change if they see a clear role for themselves in conservation. Therefore, Bears in Hot Tubs is a film that I hope will inspire people who live alongside bears to start learning from and about their individual bears, recognising parts of themselves in both the people and the bears. Let's now take a look at one scene and a rough cut of Bears in Hot Tubs.
We had a pool party. Maddie came with her cub, and I believe she was just so used to the pool being empty. She just looked around, stuck her head in there, and she saw there was people. So she was like hesitating, didn't know what to do necessarily. She keeps her distance, and she'll wait her turn to go in the pool.
Bears don't know trespassing. So we may have the gate up, we may have different things, but the bear's going to go wherever the bear wants to go. And we have a 4-foot fence, we have a 6-foot fence, we have an 8-foot fence. It doesn't matter. This is a bear. They can climb trees. They're going to go over whatever it is. It just comes down to coexistence, and the bears are always going to be welcome in our pool. In fact, more so than most humans. Our guests for barbecues cause a lot more damage than the bears do. So we'll gladly welcome the bears to our hot tub and pool over the humans.
Working for wildlife, I often hear that animals are voiceless, but bears, like all animals, are not voiceless. They communicate through their actions. Bears in Hot Tubs captures part of their story, offering a glimpse into their needs and desires. Through these images, we can see that bears are indeed using their voice. They're speaking to us, and it's our responsibility to learn how to listen. By doing so, we can use our own voice for the benefit of their well-being. Through this film, I hope to encourage viewers to question their perception of what it means to be a nuisance bear. By reflecting on their perspective, engaging in meaningful dialogue, and exploring alternative approaches to coexistence, we can work towards co-thriving with wildlife. To create lasting change, we must lead with empathy and compassion for all beings. It is our responsibility to interpret their behaviours of wildlife and listen attentively. By embracing egomorphism, understanding bears as co-participants and co-creators of knowledge, we can reframe human-wildlife conflict to incorporate the perspectives of the animals themselves. Bears, like us, are simply trying to survive. However, unlike us, they no longer have access to the resources they once did. It's up to us to take responsibility for our actions and find non-invasive, non-lethal solutions. By shifting our mindset to recognise bears as integral members of our shared environment, we can foster cooperative, harmonious ways of living together. We hope this film inspires the viewer to reflect on their interactions with black bears and begin conversations that promote new ways of thinking and acting towards our wild neighbours. Thank you for listening. Here's a list of references, contact details, and a link of where you'll be able to find more about the film Bears in Hot Tubs.